All right, I'm recording now, and so we want to talk about how to get out of a slump. And so I want to introduce you to a very helpful tool, which you guys probably got to see just a second ago. And there you go. That's the daily activity tracker. Guys, if you use this, this will make sure and ensure that you will be very consistent with your sales. Now, I'm not going to like spend a lot of time on the activity tracker itself because you can go to the Senior Solutions website and you can look at that webinar and learn a lot about it. I want to take this from a point where we're just going to talk about how to get out of slump. Okay, so if you want to get out of slump, you need to use this activity tracker. Now we'll cover this briefly. This shows by day uh, how many dials you're making. The scripts is how many people you talk to. Apps, or rather appointments, is how many people you set an appointment with. And then you got door knocks, how many people you talk to is the script, how many appointments you set, and then number of sits that day. It doesn't matter where they came from. Number of apps you wrote, and then your APV, your annual premium volume. And then the last one, it says safe money, referrals, I'm sorry, and safe money. Now the safe money, that means you found an opportunity for financial services. Okay. Now, if you want to sell your way out of a slump, or maybe you just want to make sure that you're a consistent producer, you need to utilize this activity tracker. Now you might ask me, well, Jimmy, where do we get this from? You go to the Senior Solutions training site, and it's up there. Just download it. Now what I do with this is I print 52 of these, and I go to Office Depot, and I have, well, actually I have them print it, and then I have them put it on a binder, a spiral binder. And then I keep this and I use it every week. So I have it in one place. Okay. So I don't have a bunch of loose sheets, right? Um, Guys, if you want to be successful, you need to make sure that you're staying busy. And the best way to get out of a slump is to stay active. And I want to give you some ideas here. The first thing you want to do, these should be your goals, is that you want to make 200 dials a week. Okay, 200 dials a week. Now you don't have to do them all in one day, but that needs to be your goal. The second thing is, if you don't make any phone calls, maybe you're strictly door knocking, that's fine too. Then you need to have a goal of at least 100 door knocks a week. That's only 20 a day on a 5-day work week. Okay, if it you may want to increase that if you're only doing door knocks. Okay, if you're doing both, your personal goal should be 200 dials and 100 door knocks a week. Trust me, if you're doing that, you're going to stay busy. Now I want to talk about how do you do this, Jimmy? Well, every Saturday morning, you need to dedicate this time from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So 8 to 12 Saturday morning. You want to get up early. Get up like at 6 o'clock. Okay. Have breakfast, have coffee, get organized. At 8 o'clock, you're making your first dial. Okay. And don't worry about it being too early. It's not too early. Guys, we're working with seniors. Seniors get up early. I'm gonna put my dad on the spot. What time do you get up, Dad?
6:30.
6:30, right? I'm only 51. I get up at least by 6, even on a Saturday. But by 8 o'clock, I've already had my coffee. I'm ready to go. So don't be worried about calling too early. Start at 8 o'clock. Um, you want to set appointments for Monday. So my goal every Saturday is to have a full schedule on Monday. Okay. So I start my appointments at 9 o'clock. I go 1.5 hour between each appointment. So that means I got a 9, 10:30, 12, 1:33, 4:30, 6, and a 7:30. My goal is to have that day full on Monday. Okay. Um, Call till 12, or if you fill it sooner than 12, you're done. And that's real simple. Okay. Now sometimes I might have people say Monday's not good. I might pick up 1 or 2 appointments on a Tuesday, right? But never schedule further out than Tuesday on Saturday's calls. Now, if I don't have a full day on a Saturday, my Monday's not booked, guess what? I'm calling Sunday evening between 5 and 8. Okay. So 5 and 8 on Sunday evening, you're only calling until your Monday is booked. Okay. Now, I'm going to click my next slide here. This is the formula or the secret to success. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before. Years ago, my dad and I went to a seminar with Tom Hopkins. You remember that, Dad? My dad's nodding, he's laughing. We went to Tom Hopkins, and this is Tom's secret to success right here. That means that you're seeing 20 people belly to belly every week. If you're sitting down and you're making 20 presentations a week, you can't help but be successful. Okay. So that's what you want to do. That's your formula for success. Now, let me just tell you this. If you're meeting with 20 people, you're making 20 presentations, you're going to make about $5,000 that week, not a month, in a week. Okay. So that's how you get out of a slump. So now let's move on into the next thing. Is it says, are you willing to do whatever it takes? Hey, let me tell you something. Making $5,000 a week is not easy. It takes some hard work. You need to get out there. You need to make your phone calls. You need to get serious. This is your business. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it today, is that whenever you had a job and you were working for the man and you had to punch in the morning and punch out at night, did they not make you work 8, 9, 10, 12-hour days, right? If you were in sales, you probably work 10 or more hours, right? It's the same thing. Now you're working for yourself. So are you willing to do whatever it takes? And that's the question. If you're not, then maybe this isn't the right business for you. All right, so now we're going to talk about something that I'm really excited about. I put my picture up there. What's next is how to turn your final expense sales into money. I put my email and my phone number up there, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. So the tip of the week is really, really big. How many times has this happened? Have you ever knocked on the door, and when the people answer, right, they ask you, well, what is this about? My typical response is, well, this is about the new state regulated life insurance for final expenses. And they say something like, oh, I don't need anything. I already have plenty of life insurance, or my funeral's already paid for, right? So then we go into our typical rebuttal. We talk about, well, do you know when your policy expires, or when was the last time you reviewed it? You might have some other good rebuttals for that, but in the end, sometimes people just say, I'm not interested. And maybe this was a preset appointment. Maybe you set this up over the phone and you show up at their house and they're telling you this. Oh, that's what this is about. Well, let me give you another scenario. Maybe you go into this neighborhood, and it's an upper middle class neighborhood. The house is pretty nice. The cars in the driveway, they indicate they have a little bit of prestige. You're already wondering, oh man, how am I going to sell this, right? Well, maybe you need to try something a little bit different. You got to be prepared, right? So typically when you pull up into a scenario like this, those people probably have their finances in order, right? So what are you going to say to grab their attention? What are you going to say? What keywords are you going to use? And what questions are you going to ask? And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So I want to offer a few suggestions to get into the door and perhaps sell either a fixed indexed annuity or maybe even a single premium life insurance product. So these are some of the things that I like to talk about when I'm in that scenario. So the first thing is, as I ask people, or I tell them, look, Senior Solutions, we also teach people how to maximize their Social Security benefits. And so that gets their attention. And so let me go to that slide. Let's talk about this for just a second. Now, if you don't already know, I'm going to give you a quick education, right? For every $1,000 of a benefit, in other words, if their full retirement benefit is $1,000, right, and they retire early at age 62, then they're going to get $750 a month for the rest of their life because they retired early, right? Now, if their social security benefit was 2,000 or even 3,000, this is per thousand, right? So, if it was 2,000, they'd get 1,500 if they retired early rather than the 2,000 because they're taking it early. So we want to teach people how to maximize their benefits. If you can get them to hang on and wait just a little bit longer, every year it increases. Even if they waited 2 years, they'd now get $866 a month for the rest of their life. That's better than 750. Now, if they wait till full retirement, which is age 66, for some people, they'd get $1,000 a month, right? Or if they can hang on to age 70, they'd get $1,320 a month. Now, let me say this. That's almost double what it is at age 62. Now, you really need to kind of teach people how to wait longer. If you take a married couple, for instance, it's very common that the husband is the breadwinner, and he's going to have a higher Social Security benefit than the wife. It could be opposite, but we'll just go with the highest breadwinner. If he takes his retirement early at 62, and later in life when he passes away, she's going to get his benefit, which is the $750. If he was able to wait to age 70, that's going to pass that $1,320 benefit on to his wife, not the 750, and then she's going to have that the remainder of her days. So guys, you really need to teach people how to wait longer. Now, obviously, waiting longer may not be the same, may not be the answer for every person because maybe they don't have longevity of life. Maybe they're already got a chronic illness, so they may have to retire earlier. They may not be able to wait to age 70, but that's where you come in as the expert, and you can sit down and you can talk about maximizing their Social Security benefits. This particularly is beneficial if they have not started drawing on Social Security. Now, if they're younger than 62 and they haven't started drawing, assuming they're not on disability, right? Then we talk about building a bridge. And I like to use this picture because this is on the back of our folders. It says Senior Solutions is the bridge between financial uncertainty and financial guarantee. So I tell people we can help you build a bridge from age 62 to full retirement at age 66, or maybe even age 70. And let me tell you, some people full retirement now is age 67, just based on their date of birth. So those are some of the things that you can talk about. Another question you can ask is, do you have a plan for long-term care? And so I want to say this is that, most people don't, but you don't have to have a long-term care policy to have a plan. A good plan might be to have an income producing annuity that has a rider on it that if they need long-term care, their income increases. And so that might be a good solution as well. Here's a good question you can ask is, are you worried about running out of money? That's one of the three biggest retirement fears is running out of money. So I tell people you don't want to live a just in case retirement, right? So these are, again, things that you can talk about at the door to make sure you get your presentation. You can say we can help you secure more guaranteed lifetime income. So those are some of the things that we talk about at the door. Now, I put this up there. I mentioned this last week. I used 4 cows last week. I'm going to use 3 cows this week. Sometimes we talk about helping people maximize the transfer of their assets to their family bypassing probate and estate taxes. So the way you do this is say, look, see this little cow right here? This one represents your real estate. And this cow in the middle, that represents your investments. What am I talking about? Their mutual funds, their bonds, their stocks, whoever they have their portfolio with. Other assets is the little guy there. Maybe those are their cars, their furniture, other assets like that. So when you pass away, Mr. Customer, your estate is going to go before probate, and you're going to get taxed one last time, and they call that estate taxes. And so the IRS is going to come in, and they're going to take that big cow in the middle, and they're going to butcher him up, and they're going to eat the steak, right? So why not take a little bit of milk from each cow and use that milk to buy a life insurance policy that will help pay for all those taxes? And then that way, when you pass away, you don't have to butcher a cow. You can still pass these 3 cows on to your family. Does that make sense? And so what we're talking about there is kind of like life insurance for estate planning. Again, this is not your typical final expense customer. So I'm just giving you things to talk about because you're going to have to be able to get their attention to get in the door. So other things you can talk about is protecting your savings from inflation. I ask them, give me a few minutes to see if I can help you with some of these areas. May I come in? If they hesitate, I'll say, I'm already here. This only takes a few minutes. And then you can get in. When you sit down, the next thing you want to do is you want to pull out your asset gathering form, which is this form right here. Now, if you don't know how to get this or you hadn't seen it before, you're going to go to the YIG website. You're going to go to the back end office, and you'll find this under the annuities tab. And if you go to the annuities tab, you're going to see that we have a lot of pre-recorded webinars there, and they're named like Annuities 101, Annuities 201, Annuities 301. There's even a video on how to fill out this form and how to ask the questions. But this is where you're going to find the form. So I recommend that you print it out. When you print this out, now I'll just tell you the way I do this. I have a clipboard that I take with me on every appointment, and on that clipboard I have the lead card, I have the asset gathering form, I have the 3-option quote sheet, and then I also have the data client sheet, which is when I finish writing them up, I write up that little receipt, and I have all those on my clipboard. So I'm just telling you, that's where you want to keep this on your clipboard. If you have it on your clipboard, you're not going to forget to use it. Okay, so you pull it out and you start asking the questions. And the first thing I want to say is make sure that you're not asking like in an interrogation way. You don't want to just start ripping out all these questions. You want to talk a little bit, you want to ask, you want to listen to your people, you want to hear them tell you their scenario, what's going on in their life. And I visualize this like I'm a doctor or a lawyer or even a CPA. I'm the financial professional. And if you ever go to a doctor's office and you have an illness or a sickness, the doctor's going to ask you questions, right? And based on your answers, then they're going to come up with a diagnosis, right? They're going to, poke you, or, maybe they might have to take some blood and urine or whatever, but, they're going to ask you questions about, what are your symptoms? They're going to make a diagnosis, and then they're going to come back with a plan for treatment. Well, same thing if you go to a lawyer's office. If you have let's say you're charged with some kind of criminal offense, you see the attorney, he asks you all the questions, he's going to come back, and he's going to come back with a plan for how he's going to build your case, right? If you go to a CPA, if you go to a good CPA, he's not going to just prepare your taxes, he's actually going to evaluate everything that you're doing. He's going to come back with a tax strategy. So I look at myself as one of those professionals that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to listen. I'm going to ask questions, and I'm the expert. I'm going to come back with a good solution. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Be confident. Be steady. Uh, so you want to go through these. I'm not going to train you how to ask the questions. Again, you can go to the webinar and watch the video. But once you start gathering this information, then you want to start coming up with basically a quick plan. But you're not going to present at this time. This is where I usually mention the 7 risks of leaving the money where it's at. Now, again, we're talking about seniors, so let's talk about the 7 risks. The risk number 1 is your portfolio can be decimated in a market crash. Now, I don't know if you guys been watching the news, but the Dow Jones in the last 2 days has dropped over 1,300 points. It was 800 on the first day and 550 yesterday. A lot of people are running scared right now. I can tell you this. If you find people with money, they're ready to move. When they see a big loss like that, they've been enjoying some really nice double-digit gains every year, but now their portfolio might get wiped out. That's the number 1 risk right there, risk of it being decimated in a market crash. The second risk is what they call withdrawal rate risk. What is withdrawal rate risk, Jimmy? Well, that's how much percent you take out every year to live off of. Now, let's just say that they don't have a pension. They have Social Security, and then they have a bucket of money. Maybe they saved it in their 401k. Maybe it's an IRA. Maybe it's in their 403b, a SEP. There's all kinds of retirement plans out there. Well, assuming that they had a 10% return, average return over the years, most people might say, well, I can take out 5% and I should be safe. But that's not true. All the experts, financial experts, say the most you can take out each year is 2.8%. Now you might ask, well, how is that possible? Now I'm averaging 10% a year and now I can only take out 2.8%. Well, because the next risk is what they call sequence of return risk. And the sequence of return talks about like when those gains and when those losses come in. And sometimes, even though the average return might be 10% a year, everything changes once you start withdrawing money. Because what if you have a big loss? Like right now, it drops 20, 30%. And then on top of that, you're taking money out. And then maybe in the second year, it loses a little bit more, right? So that sequence of returns is a big risk factor. And if you're taking out 5%, and even though over the course of maybe a 20-year period of your retirement, it might average 10%. If you have big losses like that, especially multiple years in a row, which is very common in a 20-year cycle, and then you're taking money out, you'll run out of money. You won't make it 20 years. So the experts say never take out more than 2.8% a year. How about inflation? That loses buying power. I'll use something simple. I remember like it didn't seem like too long ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe a little longer. I mean, you could go have lunch for $5. I mean, and I'm not talking about a fancy lunch, but $5-6 $5 or $6, you can get a lunch. Well, now that same lunch is like $8, $9, $10. Oftentimes I'll go to lunch and it's $12. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't really go extravagant or anything. It's called, inflation. How about increasing taxes? That's another risk. Long-term care is a huge risk because if you need long-term care, the cost of that is so expensive, it could wipe out your portfolio. And then the last risk, number 7, is longevity risk. This is the risk of living too long, because not only is this a risk that you might run out of money, but it's a risk multiplier. And you might ask, well, what do you mean by that, Jimmy? Well, the longer you live, the longer you're going to run into these other risks, market risk, long-term care risk, inflation. All these other risks are multiplied by living longer. So I talk to people about this when I'm finished gathering the information. And then you want to go for a second appointment. You're going to say, now listen, I'm going to go back to the office. I'm going to get with some experts. We're going to put a plan together, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to lay it out for you. And then so you want to give yourself at least a few days, maybe a week, and book an appointment. You never want to leave the house without having a second appointment. Now, if you talked about all these things or some of these things that I've mentioned, and you left without a second appointment, all you did was just give them a lot of information. And so you definitely want to move to a close, and the close that you're looking for is closing on a second appointment. Okay, so now you got the information. You get back to your office. What do you do with it? You fax that in to Robert Trejo, who's the head of our annuity department and financial services. Now, Robert Trejo is with Coas Financial, and Coas Financial and Your Insurance Group are synonymous. So if you're with Your Insurance Group and Senior Solutions, you're also a part of Coas Financial, just to let you know. All right, so you want to go ahead and if you don't have Robert's number, you can look it up on the back end office, fax that into him. If you can't find it, reach out to Joe or myself. We'll get you his number. Okay, Robert will come up with a plan. He'll give you a call. Y'all come up with something together, and you can go back out and confidently present the product. Okay, worst case scenario, you're just totally uncomfortable with talking about these finances. Maybe your comfort level is not anywhere near being confident. Well, Robert could actually make the phone call and present for you over the phone, and he can just do it for you. You would be there with the client while he's talking about it over the phone, and then you take your paperwork ready to write it up. Now, one thing I like to point out is that this is not a split deal. This is 100% your commissions, okay? Robert, being part of Your Insurance Group and head of the annuities department, he gets paid an override, if you will, on all of our production. So you don't have to, it doesn't cost you anything out of your personal cell, utilize him. And then obviously you're going to present and close. Oops, I went the wrong direction there. Let's see here if I can get that fixed. All right, so I want to talk about some case studies. Let me see how I'm doing on time. Okay, good. We got plenty of time. So I want to give you some scenarios on how this has worked. And so this is the first case study. This gentleman's name is John. He's 61 years old. He's single. He has $200,000 in liquid assets. He's got a home and cars paid for. He has 2 vehicles paid for. One's a truck, one's a car. Oops, I went back. Oh my God. Let me see here. Hold on. I apologize, guys. There we go. All right, there we go. I apologize for the delay there. When I first went up to John, it was actually a preset appointment. And when I got there, we sat down in his living room and says, "Oh, what is this about? This is life insurance? Oh, I don't need any life insurance." He says, "You know what? I don't have any kids. I've never been married." He goes, "I have a girlfriend that lives with me. She's going to get everything I have. I have plenty of money in the bank to bury me. I'm not worried about it." Right? So I had to come up with some stuff, right? So, we talked about some of the things I mentioned earlier, and but let's move on. So he started telling me he's very, very frugal. Man, this guy is so frugal. It's amazing. He actually stopped working at age 51. He's a former truck driver. He was making over $100,000 a year, paid off his house, paid off his vehicles. He was able to put some money in the bank. And then at age 51, he decided he didn't want to work no more. He got burned out. And he's been living off of his savings for 10 years. Okay. Now he is so frugal. It's amazing. The house is warm. He does not light the gas pilot to his furnace. He doesn't even keep the pilot on for his range or his water heater. Like this guy says, Jimmy, you'd be surprised how you don't need hot water to take a bath. And I'm just like looking at him like, wow, this guy is just like really, really tight because he doesn't have any income. He has to make that 200,000 last. So he's really, really tight. He's totally debt free. He's got a couple of problems though. He does not have health insurance, okay? And he does not have long-term care, right? But he's really healthy. And he also said that he has longevity. His family, they live long into their 90s and late 80s. So he's in good health. So he's expecting to have a long life, right? And so he's considering starting his Social Security benefits at age 62 and taking an early retirement. He already has looked into it and he really wants to last to age 70 if possible, right? And so for him, full retirement is at age 67. Okay, if he retires at age 67, he gets $2,000 a month. If he retires early, he only gets $1,400. Okay, and if he can wait to age 70, he'll get $2,640 a month, right? And so let me show you what my solution is. And so here is his. I did this with Fidelity and Guaranteed Life, which is one of our carriers. And so if he were to put 125,000 of his 200,000 in this annuity product, and this is the Safe Income Plus, right? They automatically start him off with a bonus. So if you look to that third column to the right, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but right here it says income base. This is where you see where he's got his bonus. The 125 went to 143,000. Okay. Now, 2 columns over, this is the guaranteed withdrawal payment. That would be his guaranteed income annually for the rest of his life. Now, the way this works, if he takes this in year 1, his annual income will be $6,900 every month. I mean, every year for the rest of his life. If he waits a couple of years, it'd be $8,640, right? So he can probably hold on 2 years, and this is my proposal for him. Okay. Now, if he waits a couple of years and then he starts this, he's going to get $8,640 a year. And if he takes that in monthly payments, that'll give him $720 a month in income that he can live off of. Again, this guy's totally debt free. He can live off of that. He's very, very frugal, right? That'll help him make it to age 70. And if he makes it to age 70, now he's able to get that $2,600 a month in Social Security income, plus this $720 a month. That's going to give him over $3,000 a month in income. Now, at some point, if he ever needs long-term care, the column to the right of that, it says enhanced guarantee. This is the long-term care rider, and his income doubles, right? So at some point in the future, maybe it's not till he's in his 70s or maybe even 80, he can double that and he'll get $17,280 every year because he needs long-term care. And so if you take that and you divide that by 12, that's going to be $1,440. So he'll get basically an additional $720 a month to help him with those long-term care needs. He's at home. That can help him hire somebody to come to his house and help him, take care of himself. So I think that's a good bridge from, taking an early retirement to waiting to age 70, and then also helping him with some long-term care. The next scenario, the next case study I want to talk about was Leroy and his wife, Maria. Leroy did really well for himself. He had a really nice house and nice cars. I knew when I was pulling up to that guy's house that this wasn't going to be no final expense. And sure enough, that's the first thing out of his mouth was, Oh no, I got plenty of life insurance. We don't need that. I have over 150,000. What do I need, something like that for, right? He also went on to tell me, my mom had a prepaid funeral. She died a couple of years ago and it went so well, it was so smooth. I think we're just going to do that. I'm just going to pay for my funeral up front. That's what I thought this was about. So I had to sit there and talk to him, tell him that we offer other services. Our company, Senior Solutions, Final Expense is only one of those solutions. And I started talking about, you know, the market. I started talking about guaranteed income. So he retired as a bus driver and he retired with a pension. Now he already took his Social Security early, so I didn't want to tell him that he made a mistake. But his combined income with his Social Security and his pension is $65,000 a year. That's pretty good money because that's guaranteed for life, and his house is paid for. Now, went on to dig, and I asked him about his pension. I said, "Now, Leroy, is that going to last until when the last to die, you or your spouse, or is that only when you die?" He says, "No, we went with only when I die because it was a higher payout." So his wife says, "Yeah, I had to sign a form to make sure, that was okay, but he really wanted the higher compensation." I really thought that that was a big mistake because he's 56. I'm sorry, he's 62 and she's 56. He's considerably older than her. Most likely he's also going to pass just, sooner because he's a man. So that means when he dies, she's only going to get his social security benefit. His pension's going to be gone. And probably by the time he dies, we're hoping that's going to be a ways from now. Inflation's going to increase, right? So I caught their attention. So he had 250,000 in mutual funds. His 100,000 of the life insurance was term life, expires at age 79, and 50,000 is a whole life policy. And she has a $40,000 term life policy that expires at 79. They have two boys that are grown. And so he was thinking, well, the 250 is going to continue to grow plus the 150,000 I'm insured for. That's going to help sustain my wife. That's why we went with the pension based on when I pass away. So I talked to, well, what about if the market crashes? What's going to happen to your 250? What about you outlive your term? So now that only gives her 50,000 in life insurance. And so I caught their attention. I'm meeting with them in a couple of weeks, but this is the solution I came up with. And this is again with Fidelity and Guarantee. And this is based on the Accelerator 10 Plus product. And so if we take 175,000 and we put it in an annuity for his wife at age 56, or actually starting at age 57, you can see that with the bonus, it takes her up to 191,000. Again, we're on the third column. I don't know if you can see my mouse there. Now, assuming that, let's say he lives 10 years. I mean, he's only 64, right? So that gets him to 74. He should live 10 years. At the end of the 10-year period, she's going to have 429,000 in her income base, right? If she chooses, whether he's alive or dead, to start drawing on income at that point, she's going to get $21,467 a year for the rest of her life, right? Maybe in 10 years, they just need a raise and he's still alive. If she activates it, she gets that $21,000 a year. Now, look at the column there to the far right, death benefit. If she passes, that pays out $286,000 death benefit. That's on a $175,000 deposit. So, I mean, that's huge, right? Now, in the future, if she ever needs long-term care, then her income is going to double to $42,933. Guys, this is huge. Now, let's say that he waits. Let's say he lives to age 80. At that time, that'll be 16 years into the policy. That's right here, if you can see my mouse. That means that her income, if she waits till he passes away at age 80, she would get $30,000 a year in income And if she ever needs the long-term care, she's going to get $60,000 a year in income, and that's going to help her pay for her long-term care. And if she waits that long, her death benefit at that point is $367,000. Remember, she only has term life, right? So I think you can see the value in this and what we can do to help these people that are not our typical final expense customers. Let's go to case number 3. I want to make sure I have enough time. Yeah, I'm doing okay. So case number 3 is Loretta. She's a 77-year-old widow. She has $32,000 in annual income. Her home is paid for. And actually, I take that back. Her home is not paid for. She went on a reverse mortgage. So she was, utilizing her mortgage to make sure that she sustains herself. She fixed up the house. She's getting some solar panels on. Initially, she thought she didn't have any life insurance, but I found out that she had $25,000 whole life policy. She has $20,000 in a 10-year annuity, so it's already 10 years. It's already matured. She can flip that, and she has another $30,000 in mutual funds. Plus, she has savings in the bank. She has no long-term care plan, and she had a back surgery a few years ago. She had a back fusion. She's already like walking around kind of slowly. You can tell she's going to need long-term care sometime soon, right? So my initial thing for her was a legacy gift, and we were going to do a single premium life for $15,000. But when I discovered this $25,000 whole life policy, and I know she needs long-term care, I kind of changed it up, and this is our new strategy for Loretta. So we're going to take the $20,000 that she has in her annuity and the $30,000 that she has in a mutual fund, and we're going to put that in a Fidelity annuity. And this is the Safe Income Plus. She's going to get a bonus on that. So you can see in the income base, she'll have $57,513, right? If she waits 2 years, because she doesn't need long-term care now, but let's assume she needs it in 2 years, okay? She will get $9,278,000 in income for the rest of her life to help her with those long-term care needs. That's $773 a month for those long-term care needs. Remember, she's living at home. She can hire somebody to come and help her with that long-term care. The longer she waits, the bigger that benefit goes up. But if she only waits 2 years, she can access it. Now, this is what I want to point out. If you take the $50,000 that she's investing, and you divide that by $9,278 her annual income, in 5.5 years, she will have received over the initial $50,000. So it will have paid for itself in 5.5 years. This is an income for life. This is a huge, huge selling point to her. And then as long as she doesn't deplete her money, there's some additional death benefit there on the right. Okay, now once she starts taking income, it starts reducing that column. But again, she still has $25,000 in life insurance policy. So those are 3 different case scenarios. And these are all people that when I knocked on their door, they said that they did not need final expense. And these were, the way I look at it, these were going to be final expense no sales. These were going to be a waste of $30 for those leads. That would have wasted $60. Now, I got to tell you, these annuities, you might ask, well, how does that pay? I know you guys are thinking that, right? Well, what does that pay? Well, based on your contract tier and based on the product and based on the person's age, it does have some variables there. But you're probably looking on a low end about 6% and a high end up to about maybe 9%. Okay, so let's just take this small one right here. You take 50,000 times 6%. That's a $3,000 commission, and that's on a final expense no sell. Let me tell you, $3,000, that'll probably cover your lead cost for the whole month. So, I mean, guys, this is huge. So I hope this webinar, brings some value to you, opens your eyes. Again, if you need help with this, you can reach out to Robert Trejo. You can reach out to Joe Johnson. or you can reach out to myself. And at this point, I saved a little bit of time, so we're going to open this up. If you have any questions, what I ask you to do is raise your hand, and then I'll go in and I'll unmute you. All right, I see Candy on the call, so let me unmute her. Hi, good morning, Candy.
Hi, Jimmy. It's so nice hearing your voice and explaining all this to us. I appreciate it so much. But my question was, what do you tell the client? Do you tell them we can give you the high side of the market without the downside? Do you tell them there's a 10% bonus, sign-on bonus, or a 5% sign-on bonus? Do you tell them anything like that?
I do that kind of stuff in the presentation, but not in the asset gathering portion. So, basically I just find out what their needs are, and I tell them that, these are the risks that you're involved in, and that I have a solution. I'm going to have to come back and I'll present it to you. So in the presentation, I do talk about those things.
Okay. Do you get a statement after you leave the home, when you leave the home?
Oh, that's a great question, and I totally forgot to mention that. You're exactly right. So always ask them for a statement, and that way you can, work it up properly. So
Right, right.
they might have it, like, let's say they have a brokerage account with Charles Schwab or Fidelity Investments, or Brookshire, or whoever, Merrill Lynch. Get that statement. Now, if they have the money, in a bank, like maybe they have it in CDs, get that statement. Wherever the money's at, that's what you want to do. Great question.
Okay, great. That's really all the questions I had. I just wanted to know if when you're doing the asset gathering form and they're telling you how much money they have, do you actually tell them, well, I have the potential of giving you the high side of the market without the downside. I can give you a 5% sign-on bonus. What is the bonus that they get with this Safe Income Plus? Do you know?
I believe it's going to vary by state. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And here in Texas, I believe it's 5%.
Okay.
The accelerator pays like an 8% bonus.
Okay.
So again, it does vary by state. And those rates change, so it's not like it's always that. They change monthly, so you always want to check your rates.
Oh, okay.
But the other thing is that, like, yeah, you can definitely say that stuff. I normally don't talk about bonuses, unless maybe I'm losing them or I didn't really get their attention. But yeah, I mean, if I need to talk about a bonus, I will. I usually try to save that to sell it, to close the sale.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense.
So, but those are good tips that you have there.
Well, thank
So,
you so much for your help, Jimmy. This was a wonderful call. I appreciate your knowledge on this product because I don't know much about it, and I just learned so much.
well, it's my pleasure, and I got to tell you, Candy, you don't have to know a lot about it. You just have to get good at gathering the information, and then
Right.
get it over to somebody else that can help you with it, and then that's how you learn. The first time I did this, I didn't know anything about it either, but it piqued my interest. I paid attention, listened to Robert. And also another thing you can do is sometimes Robert, just to say this, sometimes Robert is very busy and he may not be immediately available. Like for me, I'm very impatient. I want them right now, right? So if I can't get them right now, just call the carrier, call SalesLink with Fidelity, and they have people that specialize in annuities, and they'll walk you right through it, and they'll help you structure the illustration, and you can learn that way as well. I will tell you this, that Fidelity and Guarantee, we have the highest commission rates with them versus some of the other carriers like Athene and Allianz. We also have high commissions with Phoenix Life. So my first go-to is going to be Fidelity and Phoenix, and then some of the others.
Yeah, in the past, I wrote for Fidelity and Guarantee annuities. So I think they do pay out really good commission. So that's really good to know.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Candy, for being on the call. If anybody else has any questions, please raise your hand and I will unmute you. All right, guys. Well, I don't see anything else up there. Let's see here. I want to say this real quick. If you want to learn more, I mentioned these books last week on the call. Tom Hegna, Don't Worry, Retire Happy. They will give you a ton of information about maximizing your Social Security benefits and about securing a guaranteed income for life. And then the Retirement Income Masters, Secrets of the Pros. What I love about these books is they're not so much product knowledge based, but they're more like how to sell it based. And so you can learn the product knowledge from Fidelity, but these books will really help you sell your product. And so I highly recommend it. And with that, thank you for attending today's webinar. You guys have a great weekend. God bless and take care.